Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Diana Bitner of True Women's Health, and I can't tell you how excited I am to have this mini reunion of my colleagues that I met. We're here to show you a snippet of the docuseries, 4 Days Menopause. And I'd like us each to introduce ourselves. We're going to have so much fun tonight. All of you, please know that you can comment, ask a question. We'd love to have your thoughts. And of course, the call to action is share this. Make sure that you're ready for the watch party and ready for news as it comes out. So I'd love us all to go around. Of course, Charles, please start with you.
You want me to start? Didn't Rob start first last time with all the women, and I have to start first? Okay. I am Charles Mattocks, a health advocate at the end of the day. And also, through being a health advocate, I create television programs to be able to reach the people who are dealing with health conditions. And we produce some amazing television shows that air on major networks around the world and create activations. And we've just created a new health platform called Revoke that we're going to make into the next biggest thing. And I'm happy to be here with you amazing women talking about women's health. And this series Menopause and all the other things that go along with this.
Awesome. And Jill, tell us about yourself.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm Jill Chmielewski. I'm a registered nurse. I've been a nurse for 30 plus years. And I just kind of fell into the menopause space about 9 years ago because I saw so many women struggling with symptoms. I'm a certified health coach as well. And a lot of my patients were coming to me with symptoms of menopause and they didn't know anything about it. And I actually didn't know much about it either, even working as a nurse in women's health. So I just got my hands on every piece of information, every training I could get my hands on. And now I am specializing in menopause as a menopause educator and advocate like Charles, just wanting to get the message out about menopause, how it impacts our body, our lives, our second chapter of our life. And I'm just excited to be here.
Awesome. Thank you. Dr. Thakore.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Suruchi Thakore. I'm actually a reproductive endocrinology and infertility specialist. So my day job is basically teaching people about hormones and how those hormones potentially affect their life. And as we know, menopause is one of those big, huge life changes that are involving hormones. So my goal in life is to teach people about what's happening in their body and kind of what we can do to manipulate that change so that they don't have the symptoms and the heartache that they have when they're not being taken care of.
I love that. And, as you guys know, I share with you the passion for menopause at True Women's Health. Our goal is to reach as many women as possible so they don't have to suffer and know that menopause is a part of life. But to be a part of the show has just been such an honor. And Charles, for you to be a guy talking about menopause, we need everyone bringing this out and just so excited. I would love to know your inspiration for this. Like, what made you want to create this mini-series, this docuseries?
Yeah, thanks so much. Well, a few years back, a good friend of mine, she was dealing with menopause, and I remember talking to her about it. And she had some mental health issues, and it kind of made me kind of look into it because obviously I was making programs like this, and as I started to look into it, I didn't see much advocacy, and that kind of worried me. It made me say, okay, well, you know what, this might be something that we want to look into. So I went back and I said, listen, when I get a chance. I've got a couple other projects, and who knows how things pan out. I'm gonna do something on this, and so that was my initial, foray into this. And then I'll kind of fast forward as I kind of started to look into the business and the side of menopause, and then ran into Jill, and she was one of those, and I bring her up almost every day when I have conversations. I'm like, Jill was the type of person who was like, listen, Charles, I'm here. What do you need from me? I will do it. I will open up the doors. Let's get it done. And that was so refreshing because I wasn't the only one in this fight. And I shouldn't be, considering that I'm a man and I don't have menopause, and I'm trying to do something that is really trying to change the game. And as probably about over a year and a half, as it took us to get to this point of making this doc, I just kept seeing so many of the same things, doors just not being opened, reaching out to companies where I'm all excited thinking, yeah, this company, they've got a new product on menopause, and well, this company is a women's group, they should love this,
Right.
and realizing that no, it wasn't like that. And I'm still baffled even to this day as I'm still pushing a new series where I'm like, how is this possible? How do I see someone who is a big woman's leader in menopause, and I see her commenting on LinkedIn, and I tag her in the post, and she doesn't reply to that message. You
I
know,
think I think it's just more and more that this is a new way of doing it, right? Like we're breaking out of traditional medicine, we're breaking out of problem-based care. And what I've learned from you is that storytelling is such a key. And if we don't do it this way as well as non-traditional way or traditional ways, we're not going to get the word out.
Yeah.
No, you're right. And just to finish off what I was saying is that, that kind of motivated me even more. And even now it motivates me more because I'm still looking at the landscape of things. And I'm like, why don't we have menopause companies that come together? Why don't we have brands that come together and work together to get this message out there? We shouldn't have sporadic people doing sporadic things on their own, fighting to raise a dime to get the message out there when there's tens of millions of dollars out there in menopause and related conditions. So I'm glad we're doing this. We're not going to stop. Maybe it took a black male to make a series on menopause, and I'm happy to do that. I'm back in the limelight now. I'm not playing any game. I was kind of hiding before and kind of being on the down low, but now I'm like, you know what? It's time for Charles to be back there and getting this thing where it needs to be. So
I don't see you shy at all.
We want all your support. Everybody watching right now, please share, tell some other people. This is a great story in general and great, amazing people that we're working with. So
now look on the side. We have comments on the side, everyone. So again, please let us know you're here. Your comments. Emma from UK is watching. She says hello. And Anna Zagova, hello from the UK. Thank you so much. And J Influence. Oh, thank you, Bonnie. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And J Influence. Appreciate it. So again, share this, tell your friends to get online and let us know. Jill, as I understand, you were the first believer. You really latched on and really supported Charles in the early days. Tell us, like, what made you say, I want to be a part of this?
I felt like I was beating the menopause drum for years, sort of solo, like we're all sort of in these silos saying, we know this is an issue. We're hearing from women every day. We're hearing women say they're so frustrated. They're not being validated. No one's listening. And so I think when Charles and I met and he, just when he just even introduced the idea of doing this series, I was like, absolutely yes, because this is what we need. We need something bigger. We need this to get out there. And we don't want it to just be another medical show. We want it to be about the stories. I had, looked at a lot of his past documentaries, and I was just blown away by the way he tells stories. I have tears in all of the ones that I've watched. And I felt like for him to be, again, being a man, wanting to do this, I couldn't believe that. That was just, it was incredible to see that. But we were continually, over the 2 years that it took us to really get to this point, constantly sort of lifting each other up and reminding each other of why we're doing this. And when someone would close a door, we're like, we need to do this. Half of all humans will go through this at some point in their life. So this is a big deal. This isn't a tiny little thing. It's a major transition. And we want this has to be told. The story has to be told. So yeah, we decided we are not going to give up. We're going to make this happen.
That's awesome. And I see Darla, I see Sandra, I see Lisa. I mean, again, so many people are saying, keep going. Like, this is so important. And thank you so much for being here. Suruchi, tell me, why did you choose to be a part of this?
Yeah, so I actually got a call from Charles at my office one day being like, hey, I have a project. I need to talk to you about it. And as a fertility specialist, I was like, okay, let me figure out what this is about. But I have a role in Clearblue, and Clearblue just launched a menopause indicator, like a test that you can do at home to kind of help gauge if you're where you may be in your menopausal transition. So I helped with that. I was one of the clinical leads on that. So he was able to find me through there. And because of that, and because I love telling the stories about hormones, honestly, like I think there's a part of the actual, like the docuseries that we did where I was like, that's my jam. And I was like, this is what we do, right? So
Exactly.
it's so critical for people to understand it, and no one teaches it. No one knows it. And this is what drives our day-to-day life. And so when he came to me and said, hey, we're going to put something together, do you think you could be part of this? I was like, absolutely. Give me a platform to be able to teach and educate people about their bodies in a way that's not just in my office one-on-one. I will take it.
Exactly. And when Charles first called me, I must say I was not an early adopter. It was like an hour, maybe like a year before then I bought in. I was like, what is this? Like this, is, I don't know. This doesn't seem like, this isn't traditional. This isn't how we normally do this. And time went on, and Charles, I can't thank you enough for reaching out again. Maybe I just had to mature or open my heart and my brain a little bit more, but you were like, we're doing this, last chance. Are you in? And I was like, oh. And then I met you, Charles, with Rob, with my business partner, Lynn, who sometimes has the cooler head than me. And we were both like, we have to be a part of this. It is just, it fits our mission, again, reaching women so they have the information. And again, Laura, Joseph, yay, my fellow
Yay.
doctors, yay. Hey, Laura. Oh my
Hey,
God.
Laura. Oh my gosh.
I just got shivers. I miss you. And to Matt Brown, Jennifer Carlson, Sherry New, hello from Houston, Nicole, and Kim Fogg. Thank you for being you. Thank you. And Jennifer Carlson. Okay, maybe I'm not going to keep calling out. Sue Thomas, I haven't seen you forever, so thank you. So again, this is so exciting. I would love to ask Charles, like, why Costa Rica? I remember I asked you when we first met, and I loved your answer. I wonder what it is now. Why Costa Rica?
Well, number one is because I live there too, as well. But also, I wanted to, I think when we've done these series in the past, bringing people to a place where they can't run away per se, they can't just say, you know what, I quit. I'm not going to finish doing this series, and also a place of healing, where they could focus on, eating right and living right and getting the information. They know they're there for something. They came a long way. And it's not something that they can just turn around and go back. I remember when we did a series on diabetes, and we were in Jamaica, and one of the guests actually showed up, got out the van, and was smoking a cigarette. And I'm like, with an amputation, and I'm like, brother, we can't do that, And now, if he was in America, he probably would have said, Charles, I'm done, I'm going home, and he would have went back to Atlanta. But being in Costa Rica or Jamaica or in a tropical setting. And I think it just sets something, a tone, an essence. And I want whoever's a part of this series to experience something, to walk away and feel like they really were a part of something beautiful. And we bring in everything from great chefs to some entertainment at night, and we make it a setting where it's not just about learning all day, but about enjoying the atmosphere and the great people around them, and also the country that they're in. Right? I mean, Costa Rica is a beautiful place, and it has everything from volcanoes to waterfalls and great people and Puerto Vida.
Big bugs.
A few tarantulas. We did see a tarantula, right?
Geckos. There was a dead gecko in my room.
Yes, that's part of the reason, and we're going to continue doing that.
Yeah. And I think the setting was amazing. All of us, like, I see you guys and all of our other colleagues, and Laura, thank you for being on. And it's like we had such a bonding. And Charles, I really feel that unless we had been there, I wouldn't have really gotten it. Like, there was something almost spiritual, magical. I don't know if it's being closer to the equator, but all the people you brought together. If I can just set it up a little bit, like, we stayed at different hotels and rooms in the city, and about 30 miles from the capital. I forget the name of the capital.
San
Oh,
Jose.
Oh, sorry. And so we're staying there, and then there were 2 houses that you secured, right? So whatever house we were filming in, Edgar was not cooking in, he was cooking in the other house. So we'd go back and forth between these 2 houses. The set was amazing, Hollywood level. I wonder, Missy, if this is a good time, would you show just a brief slideshow of kind of some background images from where we were? Can you go back a little bit? Or is this a slideshow? I'm sorry. Never mind. Where's Dinga? There's Jill. There's Rob and I. That was an emotional discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Rosie. Just what a great crew. And there's Charles. So if that gives people a little sense.
Yeah, no, it really was. And I think all of you can say the same thing. Even though we came to Costa Rica as the experts, we left changed just like everybody else. Like we all had our little like breakthroughs and our little like just resets when we were there. Even though it wasn't really what we had gone there to do, we all came back with that new sense of being revitalized in a sense about like what our goals are and what we really want to do for this project.
If I can share just quick, Jill, I'm so sorry to interrupt.
No.
But like, I really feel this, Charles, I don't know if you picked up on this, and maybe it was just me, but I felt like when us experts came together, there was initially almost this little competitive thing, right? Because in the menopause space right now, it's all like, who can, like, voices are the loudest in business. And to your point, Charles, kind of that grab of attention to, like, you know, at True, I'd like to think we're not like that, but it just came when we all came together. There was just this little competitive sense, like, wait, who's the alpha here? Who's going to get more screen time? It just felt like that a little bit, like we were all kind of sizing each other up. And by the second day, I could have cared less. I trusted you, Charles and Dinga, to like do the right thing for the show. But also I didn't care because it was about all of us coming together. For me, I think that was one of the real lessons. Jill, what do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think it was like all egos put to the side and just realizing we're here for this incredible project. And it just felt like we always, I think Diane and I were saying recently we met in person and we were saying the word is not trauma bonding, but there has to be a word where you're together for 5 days all day. And again, none of us knew each other before we came together. I mean, Charles and I knew each other, but had not met in person. But we had all just met for the first time. And so I think there's something about just being with people off-site. Like you said, Charles, we're not in a studio. We're in this amazing place and we're all there for the same mission. It felt so, I don't know, it's a word. We all kind of walked away and said, we could never describe what this was like to anybody. There's no words for it because it was just so powerful. I wish we could, but there's no way to say it. It's like our own little circle of people that were there will always understand
but
it.
We do have a docuseries, so we'll show people that. Charles, can you talk a bit more about the structure, right? So you had how many of us experts and how many guests? Can you tell us about how you structured this?
Well, we had, and my mind is horrible, but I think we had about 5 guests, and forget how many experts, but it was plenty. Normally it's not that many, but you know, in trying to pull this all together, we had to really kind of do what we had to do. But I think it really kind of worked itself out. And I say that everyone, like you said, to your point, everyone got together and got along very well, which allowed us to really be able to flow. There were no egos there. Everybody was a team player. And everybody, you know, there's always, you know, ups and downs. And like any television set, there's always some drama. Trust me. I mean,
you did a good job of keeping it on the down low because it didn't feel that way.
I can go on and on with that, but it brings a reality of it. There's a lot of emotions. I mean, people are dealing with things, and there's going to be ups and downs when you bring people to a place that, you know, they have left their homes and everything, and they come and at times there's a little, you know, there can be a little ups and downs. But I think on a whole, we were able to walk away with was just something that's just pure joy. And as I'm going through some of the edits now, I'm just like, wow, you know, I think we actually created a different genre And I'll say this because I think when we look at some of my inspiration comes from like people who host podcasts, and you'll see like Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he may do an hour-long podcast where he's just talking about something out outer space, and he may have, you know, a million views on that. So people came because they wanted the information. And I think in what we have now created with these docu-reality series, it's really about the information too. Do we couple that with good storylines and a little bit of entertainment and things like that? But, you know, for those who are dealing with menopause right now, they want to sit down and watch something. They want to get something out of this and say, wow, I had no idea of that. Because I was watching actually the first scene a couple of days ago, and I'm like, all the guests couldn't tell you about menopause, and they are living with menopause. Like Michelle said, I didn't know I just thought it was hot flashes and mood swings. And, you know, Rob didn't know anything about menopause. As we like to say, Rob was talking about the thermostat up and down and fighting over the thermostat. So I think that, you know, for the millions of women who are really looking to understand what they're dealing with, you guys did such an amazing job, and I'm so proud of you. And I hope to continue to work on these type of shows with all of you.
Yeah. Could you talk a bit about, or Jill, or whoever, like to talk a bit about the structure, right? So we had guests that were talking about their stories, and then you planned it that we would introduce each story so we could really, I love what you say, Charles, like people can see themselves in that story. Can you talk about that? Or Suruchi?
Jill, do you want to take it? You want to take me?
Oh no, I think Charles was about to. Yeah.
Charles? Go, Charles.
Well, you know, once again, it came from when I created the first series on diabetes. I first said I want to create something where people who are sitting in the comfort of their home can see someone just like themselves. And I think, you know, the fact that we have, you know, all races being represented. We have, you know, a Black female, we have a Latin female, we have, you know, white females, we have even people who are in the same relationships, you know. So we covered a lot of ground, and those who are sitting at home can look and they can resonate, and they can get real-time answers. You know, this isn't about, you know, and I like to get raw and deep, and I'm going to continue, but you know, this isn't about having some celebrity talk to someone, because a celebrity, you know, I'm not motivated. If I have diabetes, which I had it, I don't look at, you know, Nick Jonas and say, man, I need to get my sugar tested. I don't do that because of Nick Jonas. I need somebody who I can relate to. So I think that having people that we could relate to, who aren't celebrities, but who are champions and fighting every day. None of you would be on this if you didn't have passion. It's about passion.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, I think about Autumn. I mean, she's young and in menopause, right? Because of breast cancer. And so like having her story, and then someone who's older, it's just, to your point, it's all different stories that came alive. So it's 22 minutes in. How about we watch the trailer? What do y'all think?
Yeah. Sounds good.
Okay, everyone, drum roll. You're going to see the trailer. Very exciting.
It's really difficult to actually say you need help. So I'm here to get help for a plethora of menopause symptoms. And I'm here to get my life back, actually.
I wonder if I will leave with more questions than answers, or more answers than questions, but I know it's going to be a journey forward.
Women in their mid-30s and early 40s can absolutely be struggling with hormones and perimenopause and menopause symptoms, and that it's okay. It's okay to talk about it, and it's okay to be open.
We went through perimenopause and didn't even know it. So we didn't even have an answer to what was going on. So every night we're fighting over the air conditioning, not knowing that that was what was going to happen. So now I'm like, listen, let's get some answers. Let's get some professional help.
Been really tired lately, so just navigating those things. And for me, being 14 years younger, I'm like, hey, let's go do this, let's do this, let's do that. I want to go out, and you know, she's pretty good with it most times, but sometimes it kind of does take me by surprise where the mood isn't as excited about doing certain things.
Life is a journey, and as we move through it, our bodies naturally evolve. Some changes come easily, while others can feel more complex and challenging. Menopause marks the closing of one chapter in our reproductive lives, an experience that is both deeply personal and universally shared as part of our biological path. In this series, we gather in the beautiful setting of Costa Rica with some of the world's leading menopause experts, alongside individuals currently navigating this menopausal transition.
Everybody deserves to feel seen and heard, and my clinical experience shows me that unfortunately a lot of women don't feel seen and heard during this transition. They don't feel supported. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money to really improve your quality of life.
And here I was, a doctor, and not knowing what to do for myself, and having to go through that journey on my own, then realizing that there was help, there was things that people could do, and then I made it my mission, once again, that no other woman was ever going to go through this, that if I could help myself, then I could help a lot of other people too.
I've been given so much in this life. I want to give back. And so to reach women and to be in a place where, wow, I can really contribute to the conversation, it's very special.
Together, we create a space for open conversation, shared wisdom, and a deeper understanding around a topic that deserves far more attention and care. I kind of lost my faith in humanity. It's funny how in 4 days, in just 4 days, that I've regained that back in the world, because these are some pretty phenomenal humans that have took this journey. Yeah. And especially the visionaries behind it. They've been quite amazing. Just, you have to be a special kind of person to do something like this.
Okay,
Yes,
everyone.
yes.
I'm crying. I am like behind the scenes, like it was such a powerful experience.
Yeah.
And I did want to take the time to as well to, you know, for those who are dealing with menopause, and I'm sorry if I'm breaking the protocol here, but
Doesn't matter. We're just hanging.
Diana, and I'll start with you. I'm taking over right now. So Diana, tell us what you really were excited to share during this series. I would love to hear what you got out of this, but also what you were excited to, your main voice that you wanted to make sure people walked away with.
I really wanted people to know that their experience matters. Like nothing should be minimized. And, you know, I love focusing on sexual health and menopause, and people being empowered to talk about what's a challenge for them. The other thing is how menopause increases the risk of chronic illness. So people don't have to suffer with weight gain, diabetes, bone loss, heart disease. Again, to have that knowledge of how to go forward. So to then connect with people on film so others can see those very real experiences, that's what mattered. And just to see the raw emotion and how people, like how Michelle shared, how she regained faith in humanity. She's like, I didn't know doctors like you all existed.
And Dr. Suruchi, we talked about HRT. Can you explain some of what we talked about and how those who are watching can benefit from that type of subject?
Yeah, I think one of the big takeaways that I think a lot of the experts felt, and constantly we kept repeating over and over again, is there's such a taboo about the concept of menopause that nobody wants to talk about it. And then when we talk about treating menopause and curing it and like helping people out with it, right? We start talking about hormone therapy, right? Hormone replacement therapy, and then that's taboo now too, right? And so there's all this negative energy towards management of these symptoms, and people have lived their whole lives, decades, without proper management because they were too scared to get it, right? And so we talk about estrogen replacement therapy, progesterone therapy, other medications that can help with symptoms in menopause that aren't hormones, right? But if you're afraid to go and even ask, or you don't know to ask for help and to know that there's these things out there, then you're never going to be able to improve your quality of life and feel what you would want to feel
I think the
normal.
guests were amazed that there were options.
Yes. So many options.
Yeah. It seems like so much of menopause has just been reduced to the end of a period or some hot flashes. And I think, Charles, this series for me was all about too this ripple effect that symptoms have on, not even symptoms, hormonal decline and what happens in this stage of life, because our guests are talking about their careers changing and not being able to focus at work anymore, relationships changing. Rob was incredible about explaining his situation with his wife, but so were the other couples, and then people that were there single, talking about what had happened in their relationship, not necessarily only because of menopausal symptoms and what was going on, but they were starting to connect the dots that so much of what's happening in peri and menopause impacts every aspect of a woman's life, and then there's a ripple effect from there. So I thought it was just, such an important message to take home.
Yeah, I think, Jill, you hit it on the point, or you hit the nail on the head, where we talked about this in one of the first segments even, is that menopause is technically a day, but the perimenopausal transition is years. It's like, 5, 6 years, potentially 10 years that somebody's experiencing all these different changes. And it's a gradual buildup. So first it's a little bit of this, and then it's a little bit of that, and these symptoms build. And then once they become compounded, then people are like, oh, this is menopause.
Right.
But to be able to identify each one of those things and know that we could start treating them as they come, so that overall they feel better and they don't have to experience the journey like that, then it affects their life and their relationships and their work. We have the ability to fix that. And I think that's really important. That's kind of what we wanted to get across.
Yeah.
Right. Or women who don't have hot flashes, and then they don't know they're in menopause, right? But 20% of women don't have hot flashes. But like Charles' friend, mental health was the concern.
Yeah.
And I would ask, how serious to let's say Diana, how serious is menopause? Is it something that can wreak havoc on someone? Is it something that can just change a life and a dynamic? Because we know that even marriages are affected by menopause, and how serious really is menopause?
It really is serious. Like, people decades ago, right? They died at 52, and now we get to live another 50 years, and it can be life-changing in terms of self-image or image with one's partner. I've had so many women say to me, if I had known, I probably wouldn't be divorced, because I would have known why I changed my mental health, my sexual desire, my ability to have sex, my ability to connect with my partner. If I had known, and I felt then like I feel now, I would never be divorced. I mean, how much more can that, right, define how it affects someone's life? It's all, and I think 80% of our healthcare dollars are spent with preventative illness. Menopause is the most dramatic risk factor for heart disease, diabetes, bone loss. So it's a big deal.
And I think, and I know you guys can jump in too as well, but one of the things that I was really excited about was Rob's part, because I remember even being on, because I've joined all these menopause groups and on Facebook, and I would see, if men are in here, they shouldn't be in here. We don't want to talk to, and I'm like, wow, why is that? And then I remember we were doing a call or a Zoom, and one of the hosts had said something, a male host, And I thought right before the series, and I thought men need to be in this conversation. I said, because if our partners, if our loved ones, if our children, our daughters are going to go through this, then we need to understand what it is and take the stigma out of it, take the sting out of it, and realize that, hey, it's something that it's a natural occurring thing in life. And we need to be there for someone who may be dealing with this in a much severe way. You know, I mean, and it's probably different, but I remember my daughter had gone through something with her first period. And it's still something to this day where I'm still confused. And it's severely destroyed our relationship. Literally, it was like overnight. It was like when I remember that day, it was like something just clicked and it never was the same. And she's gone on to have, you know, other mental issues that have been pretty severe. But then I look at that, and of course I'm not comparing, but to understand that someone in your life is going to go through something that they can't control. And that if we don't understand it, because I didn't understand what my daughter went through. If I understood it, I might have been ready for it. I might have been prepared to go through the battle and maybe be a little bit more understanding. But it was just overnight.
Charles, this is a really important comparison, actually, because hormones are so powerful. And estrogen affects our serotonin, our norepi. It affects our ability to sleep. And you know how we are if we don't sleep, right? But progesterone affects GABA. I mean, progesterone is FDA approved at a high dose for postpartum depression, right? Like hormones are powerful, whether it's in puberty. And I just saw a patient today with crazy perimenopausal depression. She had postpartum depression. She had just really terrible PMDD, or, you know, PMS on steroids. And so for her, she's at very high risk for severe depression. And it's Suicide Awareness Month. We talked about that on Fox 17 this morning. Like it's a big deal. And we know all of women in menopause who have died by suicide because of hopelessness with this phase of life. So
and it comes down to that education, to be able to provide at least a different avenue to reach more people and explain to them that we can do something about it. You don't just have to live with it, right? I think this docuseries really truly allows us to do that, to spread that message and get it to people that are not in our clinics, that are not our friends, that are not in our close circle and network, but like to the masses, and tell them it's okay. It's okay to talk about this. It's okay that you're experiencing it. And there are people there to help you.
Yes. Yeah. And Sangeeta, grand day to you, beautiful. Thank you so much. Missy, I'd love if you put up Anne's comment on the bottom. If you put up her comment from the UK. I'm 40 and the thought of menopause makes me anxious. Living with fibromyalgia adds to my worries. The thing is that perimenopause can make you tired, right? If you lose muscle mass, it can make you tired and feel more weak. If you're insulin resistant, it can make you more tired and not sleep well. Yeah. So it's really about honing in on the symptoms so you can differentiate which is which, and then find someone to support you so the menopause doesn't take over. Yeah. She doesn't have anything else to add, but so important to understand.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, we know that Diana. Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Suruchi.
I was going to ask
Jill. No, I was going to ask Jill. Jill, what the importance of really understanding this? I mean, because we may, I think people really dismiss this. How severe can this be? How, reckoning can this really wreak havoc in someone's life from what you see?
Yeah, I mean, I just did a talk last week, and the title of my talk is Menopause, the Change That Changes Everything, because I really feel like every cell of our body has receptors for hormones, and receptors are like little mini satellite dishes that receive hormone signals. So if you think about that, we've all been taught, even as a nurse, I was taught hormones, at least the ovarian hormones, were all about reproduction, pregnancy, and periods. Well, those hormones actually leave the ovaries and travel all throughout the body. So if you think about it that way, there's hormone receptors in every cell of our body, our brain, our bones, our skin, our digestive tract, our heart, our muscles, every single cell of our body. Then when hormones decline, every single cell of our body is affected. So it's a whole body experience. They really are whole body regulators, and everything changes after menopause. And I don't say this to scare women, but it really is. Everything will shift, and we need to then learn how to shift with that. What do we need to do differently now that things are shifting? And so hormone therapy can be a great, piece of the solution, along with lifestyle. We talk about a lot of different things, like Diana, you were saying, all the holistic stuff. We want to look at the body as a whole, but it truly is a massive impact on the body. And I think I think the word menopause is just so misleading, because it just is, means the end of a period, and that's it. And that's just simply, it's so I would say underrated. It's like, it just doesn't even begin to explain what's happening. So this why this is critically important that we have this show.
Mindy, would you pop up Missy, pop up Mindy's comment? She's looking at her ADHD has gotten worse with menopause, right? It affects the cells in the brain.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
We see that a lot. And we're seeing a lot more attention being paid to women who maybe were either newly diagnosed or in hindsight are saying, hey, I think I've always had this, but it's really accelerated in perimenopause and menopause.
Yeah. And I didn't mean to scare anybody, but I think at times, just like even with diabetes, when I first started working on diabetes, I realized I had to be honest, because I had to let people understand that, diabetes is the number one leading cause of dialysis, amputation, of heart disease, and I think that if we understand really that it is something that is going to change someone's life, now we could start to look at those solutions. And I'll do say, I will say that when I look at the series, that everyone on the series, as far as the guests, we're dealing with some form of mental illness or mental health issues. And it was actually surprising. Do you see a lot of that combination?
We see it all the time. And if nothing else, it's self-image, it's coping. If someone was able to keep it all together when they were sleeping well and cope okay, and now they're not sleeping and they're losing it at work, 10% of women leave the workforce during menopause. And that costs our economy $1.2 billion a year. So to your point, Charles, we all got to talk about this. It's huge.
I think, one of the things that I also think about with all of this too is that, you have to be willing to have a support network, right? We always talk about making sure you develop a network that you can then talk to your friends, your family, other people. And sometimes this topic is one of those things that's just brushed under the rug. It's like, you got to be a strong woman. You got to just barrel through it. You'll get through it and then you'll be fine. Just give it a few years. You're going to be fine. But sometimes that's not the right answer, right? You need to have people you can talk to, you can communicate with, tell them what you're experiencing, and they may be able to help you cope as well and be that support system for you to get to that end point where then you're feeling better.
I had a patient today. She feels guilty for using hormones and Prestique, mixed SSRI, SNRI, because she said, my mom had to suffer through this. And she was like, just buck it up. And I feel guilty that I'm getting help. I'm like, wow. Okay, boundaries. But, by you having a better experience, then your daughters will be able to have an even better experience. And I think, Charles, how you use storytelling, if people can see sort of a crystal ball, how their future might look, they're more likely to make changes today to have a better tomorrow. Don't you think?
Yeah. I think that this is something that almost families can sit down and watch, whether it's daughters who, are with their mothers who have to understand what mom might be going through or what they may be going through, right? Because those young girls are going to turn into women eventually, and they're going to have to deal with this. And I think if we know sooner, and I always say, man, had I learned about diabetes in elementary school, I might not have had it, because I didn't know that, eating a ton of salt on my pizza at 16 was going to turn into, certain things per se. I didn't know that, eating processed foods and late night after having my first child and not sleeping much and those bad habits would turn into type 2 diabetes. So I think that, this series allows us to have that conversation around the table. And I'm really excited about that. Now, I did want to ask Jill, how was it being thrust into being the host of
Yes.
Well, it all turned out okay, I think, but I was not ready for it. I could have had maybe a warning before I got there, but it all turned out. I think it all worked out.
You did
We'll see what the
fantastic. You
final
were
series.
like, so you were all on top of
Natural.
it. You did
Yeah.
amazing.
Oh,
You
thanks.
were natural.
Thank you for trusting me.
I
It
would
was
like
fun.
to ask, what are some frustrations with menopause moving forward and being able to get the information out? Let's start with Diana. What are some of the frustrations? I know I can go on all day, but I mean, as a doctor, what are some of the frustrations that you say, man, if we could only do this, or it shouldn't be like this, or what are some of those frustrations?
Your questions are awesome. I think my biggest frustration is knowing that the knowledge is so powerful and options are here, and only being able to reach a certain number of people. That is my biggest frustration. I was just at a big football game and looking at the stadium and thinking, if just even a third of those women knew their phase of ovarian function and their options, like that makes me crazy that women are suffering because they don't know.
Yeah.
That's frustrating.
And Dr. Suruchi, what would you say?
I'd say I just every day, even when I'm talking to my patients, I'm talking to people, it's the misconceptions, the wrong information that people are sometimes getting either from generations, their grandmothers and stuff like that, because that's what they were told, or potentially friends that may be going through it, but having, reading something online or hearing this or that. It's the misconceptions and not being able to like really hone in on why this, like these treatments and these things are necessary.
Yeah. Jill, what, and I know, Jill, you actually work even some of the business side of things, because you work with different companies and things like that. Any frustrations that pop up that make you say, wow, why is it like this? Or how could it be
Well,
better?
I think, educating women. So you educate women, they learn about it. What I find, because I'm not a prescriber, I'm educating women and they're all excited to go and find their provider that's going to help them. And they go and they try to find somebody and they can't. And I think because of the WHI, there was this entire, 2 decades of medical training that didn't happen for providers. And so we do have this gap in care. And so women, I think, are now catching up and learning about it. I don't think we have enough providers for women at this point, at least. And some providers who are trying to learn it, but maybe some that can maybe dabble a little bit, but don't fully know it. So I feel like we'll explain it to women, we'll educate them. They get excited. They want to pursue hormone therapy or other treatments. And they go to their doctor and their doctor dismisses them, or their provider who just doesn't know because they were not trained. So it's not the doctor's fault, but it is the medical landscape that we're dealing with right now. And that for me is probably one of the most frustrating things, because then they're going to companies, because all of these companies are popping up with products that are they really great for menopause? Maybe not so much. It's more about everybody wants to get in on the menopause game. And we have proven effective treatments. And I think because oftentimes they're dismissed, they're then, sort of seeking alternative options that aren't so good. So I think there's a lot of work that still needs to be done for women in terms of gap in care.
Right.
So let's go ahead.
Just real quick, I wish that doctors would be able to say, or providers, prescribers, be able to say, I don't know, get their ego out of the way and say, go to menopause.org. Our website is rich with it. You guys have websites and availability as well. Like, there is information that's rich out there, and maybe download this and take this to your provider. But for a provider to blow it off just because they don't know and they feel bad that they might look stupid, just say, I don't know. It's okay. Like, that's the right thing to do for your patient. And if it's okay, you guys, real quick, Kathy has asked this question twice. Kathy, thanks, Jonathan. You're right. But Kathy, what are the options for women beyond onset of menopause and HRT? The big thing that we learned from the WHI, Kathy, is that there are considerations. So let's say at 70 that you already have some level of heart disease, risk for stroke, risk for dementia because of plaque, which can happen after 10 years of menopause, then we're concerned that hormones might actually increase your risk of an event. So if this were to be safe for you, even at a low dose to protect your bones, we'd have to have you jump through some hoops just to make sure it's safe. So a heart test called the CAC or a CT calcium score, lipoprotein markers, those kind of things would be really important because we'd rather have you safe. And the cool thing is there's other therapies like the NKTs, the neurokinin therapies that help hot flashes, night sweats, and vaginal estrogen helps everything in Ladytown in terms of vaginal dryness, bladder infections, and being able to have intercourse without pain. So there are a lot of options. Again, to see a certified provider would be a great option. So there are options. It just might not be estrogen.
Yeah. To jump in there, Diane, I was going to ask, when does a woman who's dealing with menopause know that that provider is someone that she needs to maybe move on from?
When she feels blown off, we all know, right? If you feel diminished, if you feel not heard. I love it when patients leave a meeting at True, like I'm sure with you guys, and they say, I feel heard. I have hope. Then, I mean, eureka, right? So if we all know if we're being blown off, walk away. You know, unfortunately, you got to keep looking, and we're here.
Yeah, 100%. If a patient's in an office and they're having more anxiety walking out of it and more confusion when they're walking out of it than when they came in, that might not be the right situation. You want to get to someone who actually shows they care, they're empathetic, they want to help you, they want to provide you with options, and they work with you to create the best plan for you.
Yeah.
And Kim Fogg, thanks so much for your comment. I've been part of the Governor Whitmer series here in Michigan to go from city to city to understand and to be in Detroit and all over the state, all the way up to Manistee, like to really understand, or Marquette, to understand how people of color feel often very underserved, but also people of high means in big cities, they also feel underserved. So it's a problem everywhere, but we have to go everywhere. So thank you. Charles, my sunshine was an issue. There you go. Now your light was.
My camera turned off on me. All right. So what was I going to say? And when do you think it's a good time to I forgot what I was going to say. The camera just threw me all off over here.
So I would love to understand how you came up with the crew. How did you find Dinga, the amazing director? How did you find this amazing, like we got to know the camera grips and the sound people. Like I was blown away by the level of professionalism that you found.
Yeah.
Well, I think they found me. And I say that because, you know, I've done a couple of shows where I'm like, you know what, my vision needs to be matched by the production. And I still think that, trust me, I mean, you know, we at times working on, you know, some of these shows with a smaller budget than I'd like. So I think that it's going to even get much bigger and better. But they have been, the people of Costa Rica have been very warm and loving to us. And the crew out there, as you saw, were just hardworking and just, you know, great crew and very friendly and fun. And we had a beautiful time. And to that point, I knew that when you guys got to Costa Rica, you would fall in love. And I'm sure everybody was like, what am I getting myself into?
Yeah, my business partner wanted to make sure I wasn't going to be kidnapped. So we were tracking my location. My insurance was all ready to go. Like, what's going to happen down there?
I think I had my boss. I think my boss came to me and he was like, so you're doing this, and where are you going again? Why? And I was like, no, this is going to be good. I promise it'll be fun. I'll be back.
And next go round, I promise we're going to stay in some really nice places. I know that we had the monkeys crawling on the roof and iguanas and tarantulas and no AC but you guys were troopers and hung through it. And it was a story, you know?
Oh yeah, part of the experience. Yeah,
exactly. But you introduced us to like places like Himalayas, like retreat,
and
my God, things that we would have never ever known even existed. You know,
so you guys have to check out DTO. I listen
Yeah.
to it probably every night on my way home from work. My favorite song is Breathe. So DTO,
Yeah.
Himalaya's partner. Oh my God. And I really want to go back to Himalaya Studio and have a yoga retreat.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Sanjita was amazing.
Yes, amazing.
Awesome.
I mean, I think, and what did you think of Rob? I mean, I think he was fantastic.
We all fell in love with Rob.
We
And
did.
Rob, he was able to speak for how much he cares for his partner. We've seen a big trend of men contacting our sites to say, how do I talk to my partner about menopause? And for Rob to be so raw and so like mentally, available to have this conversation,
Yeah.
it's pretty incredible.
It was. So, like I said, we are working on another one. And this one is going to be on andropause and menopause. Maybe you can share, let's say, Diana, if you want to jump in and share what andropause is, because I'm almost sure 90% of people who are watching this may not even know. I didn't know myself per se. I think we look at it and call it something else with the word low in there. But can you explain a little bit about that?
I can, but as I do, Missy, we put up Matt's comment, the long one. Matt commented about his concerns about andropause. So men experience a decline as well with falling testosterone, which can affect their sexual desire, their sexual performance, but also their bone mass. They can have osteoporosis like women with menopause. They start to gain belly fat because they become insulin resistant, just like women do when we lose estrogen. So it's a really big deal, and it can affect their sense of vitality. Like you guys, Charles, right? You want to feel young and energetic just like we do. So it's a big deal. So I should ask you, Charles. Just is it a big deal?
Is it a big deal?
I don't know. I'm not there yet. And if I was, I'm not sure I'd share. You know what I mean? I can't be the guest on my
we
own
will.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just teasing. But Matt, I'm so glad you are able to talk to your endocrinologist. Suruchi, I know as an endocrinologist, like I'm sure you talk about this a lot because you have male factor infertility, right? As much as female factor.
Definitely. I think we were talking about how menopause affects 50% of the world's population. Well, the other 50% are men, right? And ovaries and testicles both are rate limited organs. Like they can only survive for a certain amount of time, and eventually their function is going to deteriorate, just like the ovaries, just like the testicles. And so, and that's the reason why we get these changes in hormones and we get these deficits. And it's the lack of these day-to-day hormones that our body requires, like Jill was saying, our whole body requires. When those start removing out of the system, you're going to start noticing that you're changing as a person, and that might not be exactly what you want. But again, that's where then you go and you talk to someone who knows how to manage these type of things for you and get on a treatment plan that works best for you, whether it be coping skills, lifestyle changes, hormones, other additive medicines that aren't hormones, whatever is in your comfort level. We have lots of options. We just need to figure out what works best.
Versus like 50 years ago, I had a patient who said her grandma was put on lithium and shock therapy was a treatment back in the day for menopause. And you think about guys maybe having these very illogical midlife crises. I mean, how much of that might be, I don't have my testosterone, so I'm going to get a Corvette, right? Like,
Yeah.
like come
Let
on.
me find some other way. My coping mechanism is let me go buy a car.
Hold on, I'm gonna be honest, and I don't believe in midlife crises because I'm looking at a Lamborghini Serato the other day, right? And I was laughing at somebody. I said I'm having a midlife crisis, but I don't believe it's a midlife crisis. I believe that I just like this car and I want this car, and about the time of midlife, I'm gonna be able to fully afford it.
That might be
true. Very true.
But to that point, I remember a good buddy of mine. He's a doctor, and I thought I was having, I wasn't losing weight the way I wanted to. So I thought it could be tied into low T or whatever like that. I did go get the test, and it wasn't necessarily low. He did prescribe me the TRT, but the thing is, and just like with HRT and just in general, I wasn't educated enough. So I took it home, and I literally didn't even do it because I thought this was the same stuff per se that the weightlifters took. I thought I was going to get heart issues. I thought I was so, and sometimes I look back now and I'm like, man, I'm hearing so much positive stuff about it. I'm like, I wish I'd have taken. I wish I would have been educated on this. So, what do you think, Jill, as far as that, as far as the lack of education on both men and women's side?
Yeah, I think it's universal. I mean, it's the same thing. I feel like I think a lot of our patients or clients will, because of our conversations, will talk to their significant other who's if they're a man and say, hey, I think you might be having something too, because it will come up in conversation, because we'll say it happens to both parties. It just depends on, timing might be a little bit different. It's a little bit different for men, but I think it's a super important conversation. So for us to have a follow-up series where we're looking at this, when you think about men going through andropause and women going through menopause around the same time or overlapping, we can see why there are, like Diana, you said, a lot of times there's miscommunication, breakups, different things, because everybody's going through this thing and they don't know what they're going through. It's like puberty. We give people a lot of grace going through puberty. We don't give people a lot of grace in patients going through perimenopause, menopause, andropause, because we're just expecting everybody to be okay. But this is a huge transition. So I'm excited about this follow-up series. I think so many men. I don't think Rob knew about andropause. I think he sort of learned about it when we were there, and he's like, I didn't realize men went through something too.
You can see that light bulb go off,
Yes.
That light bulb. It was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Am I going through this too? Yes, we all do.
This is me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I couldn't even pronounce it. I remember trying to remember it during on set, and I was like, what was that? I'm yes.
Exactly. Well, you guys, I feel like we could talk about this forever. Before we totally sign off, Missy, would you put up the video just as we sign off and we say our goodbyes? I want you guys to see this quick little video that we have from one of our closing evenings in Costa Rica before we all fall our eyes out.
We finally saw you relax, Charles. We were all, everybody was on, and then that night was just, everybody was just
you guys.
soaking it all up.
I gotta say that you guys meeting you all has been such a blessing, and you've all changed my life, and I'm so glad that even through menopause that we were able to meet and do something that I hope really resonates with the world. And I'm not going to let you guys go. You guys were my OGs, and when I ride, you ride. So let's continue to push forward. And Jill, I want that contact to WW. You know what I'm talking about? Because this needs to get out there to everyone. This needs to get out there to the world.
Yeah. I don't know why I get so emotional. Like, this is just
it is. It's
Yeah, thank you, Charles. Thank you so much for getting us all together and bringing us together. Yeah. Honestly, I don't think I would have ever met Diana, even though she lives like literally 20 minutes.
20 minutes away.
I know. It really all of our lives. Honestly, this has been all of us left saying this was so life-changing, and we really do owe it to you. So thank you for finding us.
So please, Charles, I know you'll keep us up to date. We need to know when this is coming out, where it's coming out. At True Women's Health, we plan a watch party. And as soon as you know, please let us all know.
And everybody go to our new platform, revoke.com, RAVOKE.com. You can sign up there for early notifications and look for some really amazing things in the next few weeks, in the next 2 months.
Okay, we're getting ready for Menopause Month. So
yes.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you.